Hello YouTube. Today's topic is going to be about dating trauma. And luckily this video will be a little longer than my first one, which was 6 minutes, and I thought it was like 20. But anywhoosies, let's get into it. So, I kind of talked about this topic on my TikTok live, and a bunch of people said they wanted me to go more in depth with it. And so, this is the video for that. The reason why I started thinking about dating trauma in the first place is because I was at a college football game with my aunt and my mother, and my aunt kept talking about, like, before we were going, she kept saying, "Are you going to find a guy? Like, are you going to go search for a guy here?" And I was like, "No, I really don't want to date anybody." And she, like, looked at me like I was insane. And then she leaned over to me and, like, whispered, "Oh, are you a lesbian? Do you like girls now?" And I was like, because I'm not looking for a relationship, and I've already told my mom and dad that I'm not looking for a relationship. I think I really need to heal from a lot of things, but I don't think that others really understand it. And she's not the only one that has said something. Like, many other family members have said something to me, and some people from TikTok have come and DM'd me, like, hitting on me. And when I tell them, hey, I am just not in the mood for a relationship, they seem like they're just so fucking surprised. Like, why are you not trying to date anybody? And that goes back to, like, I just figured out that I have dating trauma. I mean, if you really want to go all the way back, when were you really starting to think about a relationship with the opposite sex or the same sex? I mean, if you swing that way, then baby, dance. But anyways, that's not the topic. I realized that the first time I actually started thinking about dating seriously is when I was in fucking middle school. And it took me getting to the age of 22 to realize that that was such a young fucking age to start thinking about that stuff. I volunteered at a middle school in my last year of college, and which was 2020. And when I would hear them talking about things, they were talking about the fact that their mom finally let them put on nail polish, or what they were going to wear to the spring formal, that their parents are going to take them to Ross and shit like that. And I was just kind of like, is that how innocent we were? Like, is that how innocent we were supposed to be? I remember in middle school, it was the era of Kik. And if you know what Kik is, and hopefully a lot of you do, you know that, like, a lot of us got preyed on Kik. And I think I felt beyond my years, or I felt like they pushed me into this space that was like, beyond my years. Because if you were in the Kik era, or you were an online child the way I was, and tried to get, other human beings' attention online because you felt like you weren't getting it in the real world, then you know that you were fucking preyed on. And a lot of the main thing that they tried to tell you and try to convince you of is the fact that, you are beyond your years. The reason why I like you, the reason why I talk to you is because you're not like other people your age. In my mind, you're damn near 30, just like me, whatever. And that made you feel good. That made you feel like you were so advanced. You walked around school like no one knows that I'm like 25 years old on the inside, even though I'm 13 right now. So you know what I mean? So anyways, that puts you in a position where you started thinking about a lot of things way too early. At that time, we should have been playing shit like Kingdom Hearts and our DS and whatever. But, like, instead we were thinking about the fact that, like, we need a partner. And then, of course, eventually all those grooming relationships die, and you're left with the real world again. And you need something to fill that void of, that attention and everything. And so you look for a relationship. And in middle school, when you had a relationship or you were in one, and it wasn't even really a relationship, because you only saw each other at school, unless you called each other or texted each other and was like, have your mom drop you off at the mall at the same time my mom is gonna drop me off at the mall. But anyways, so we get into middle school, and a relationship becomes our whole world. It becomes the center of our universe. And you remember what you felt like. You felt like your whole purpose like when it comes to like going to school was to see this person, was to be in a relationship with this person. And you guys were children. You didn't know what a relationship was supposed to be. And the crazy part was that like you were most likely assholes. Either the girl was too naive or the guy was just an asshole, or the other way around, or both. But or if same sex, but I'm just talking about straight people because I'm straight. So don't think you're not included, gay people, because you are. I love you. But anyways, so you know, that is your first kind of like dating trauma where, you know, the guy that you crushed on and you wanted did not like you back. So that started having a big toll on your self-esteem, or you would hear people talking about you and you felt like you weren't cute enough to get anybody, or you would see other girls get like attention from guys and you felt like you were less than because nobody was running after you. You know, you were so focused on being liked, being loved, being looked at, being wanted, that when you didn't get that, you know, your self-esteem took a big hit. And I feel like that's a very big, like, pivotal part of the dating trauma. So you get into high school after that. That's when I feel like dating really becomes serious, because by then your parents have already told you, hey, you can start dating somebody when you're 16. And a lot of us were told that. And you believe that too. You're like, okay, when 16 comes, like that's when dating is going to become real. We can drive, we can get jobs, so we have our own money. Like that's it. And a lot of times, really, majority of the trauma comes from high school, because everybody's a fucking asshole, because their hormones are raging. They don't know who the fuck they are. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. And they're burnt out because high school is a fucking lie. And then by then, your brain registers what's going on at home. A lot of people are dealing with a bunch of shit at home. And then friends are shitty. You're dropping them left and right, gaining them left and right. It's a lot. It's a lot of fucking shit that you go through in high school. And that probably turns you into an asshole majority of the time. And I know a lot of you would try to think, I was very nice in high school. I was very cool. You were not. You were involved in drama. You hurt people. You caused pain to people, and people cause pain to you. And so you get in high school, and that's when you start really looking at yourself like, okay, this is my time. This is my prime time to get in a relationship. And you get with somebody who most likely is an asshole. And a lot of times you get with somebody that just likes you. You find out that they like you. And if they're just attractive enough, you most likely get with them, because you're just like, you know, a relationship. And it's the worst thing of your fucking life. And sometimes you hear those rare stories where people are like, I met my husband or my wife when I was 16 and we have been married ever since. Like we got married when we hit 18 and we've been together ever since. Yeah, whatever. But like in the real reality of it, for like a lot of people, you know, you get in these relationships and these guys are fucking assholes to you. They play you, they cheat on you, they tear down your self-esteem, they have meaningless arguments with you, they make you feel like you're crazy. They make you feel insecure all the time. Like, it's really bad. And in my instance, I was still in that zone of no guy ever really wanted me in middle school, and none of my crushes ever worked out. And so I reverted back to the whole online thing, and I was fucking with older men, and that was very traumatic. It was traumatic to be in a position where you wanted a very kiddie dating life with them, but they wanted to do very adult stuff with you, because you got to realize that, like, what the fuck do they have to talk about with you? What do they have to get into with you? The only thing they really truly want from you is sex, because I don't care if you're 16 years old and he's 20 and he's like, oh yeah, girl, I just got out of high school, or try to convince you of that. At the end of the day, you have nothing to fucking talk about with them. They're in the real world, and you're just in high school, which, to be honest, is kind of the real world, but kind of not. High school is its own little world in itself. So I don't care. Like, if you're in this position, I hope this video does something for you. But yeah, they try to convince you that, like, you know, we could talk about things, about so many things, because you're beyond your years. Like, now that I'm 22 years old, and looking at it now, the only way that I'll ever have any contact with a high schooler is if I actively seek them out online, or I put myself in a position where I'm going to be meeting high schoolers, and then I prey on them. Like, you have to go after that. And I hope that kind of puts that in perspective if you were ever preyed on or you're being preyed on right now, that like, you didn't meet them by coincidence. You didn't meet them because it's like, oh, I just met the love of my life. Like, it was a meet cute or whatever. You were preyed on. You were targeted and you were sought after. And by the way, just for anybody, it's not your fucking fault. They're fucking predators, and they're crazy, and they're weird, and they can't land anybody their age. And so they go after naive girls that they know they can feed the correct lines to, that will fall for them, because they go after the girls who were the wallflowers, the girls who were overlooked. You know what I mean? They know our type, so they go after us, but whatever. So, I was involved with these guys that preyed on me and put me in very difficult positions. Like, they weren't the regular men that I would see, at high school. They had their own separate lives. So I had to lie to my parents a lot about where I was going, who I was going to be with, because I had to create ways to see them. And so deception came into play, and secrets came into play, which took a toll on you. You feeling like you were a secret, because of course they told you that, like, we can't be public with our relationship. We can't, we can't say it to the world right now until you're graduated. So you feel like a secret. You feel very unstable too, because when you know that they're going out doing adult things, you're scared that what if they meet a girl that's older that they like. You know what I mean? It's just, a lot of insecurities come in. It's just a lot of things that play a part with that. And I know, especially for me, they wanted me to do advanced stuff, and I'm talking about sexual things. Like, I lost my virginity when I was like 14. And since then, every guy I got with made me feel like I had to do that. Like, I needed, like, sex was such a huge thing in the relationship that you need to do that with me, especially the older men. And I feel like the guys my age wanted to try things out, like kissing and stuff. But like the older guys were like very adamant, like, we need to do this. And that took a big effect on me, because it made me feel like you can't have a relationship without doing something sexual very, very often. And it leads you to the point that, like, when you finally get to the point where you meet somebody you truly like and you're like, I just want to talk to you, they become adamant about the fact that, like, we have to do something sexual. We need to do something sexual. And so that slowly takes a toll on you, where you feel like you're reduced down to vagina, and you feel like the only thing of value about you, the only thing you can offer a man, is your vagina. And that's a very terrible way to walk around in the world, to walk around thinking that, like, you are nothing but your pussy, and you will never be anything more than your pussy. And to want a real relationship from somebody would be too much for you, because when you get with a guy, like, all they're gonna do is want to fuck. And that actually makes you hypersexual too, because every guy you meet, you end up trying to do something sexual, because you're like, they don't really want to talk to me. They don't really want to know me. I know what they want. I might as well just do it. And I realized I was hypersexual when I was in the car with a guy friend of mine, and he was like, hey, you want to go out and get something to eat? And we like talk. And I was like, okay. And he didn't want to go back to his place. He didn't want to go back to my place. He didn't want to go somewhere public. He was like, let's eat in the car. And he like took us to this dirt road, and we're like, it was just a bunch of trees on both sides. And he like parked the car and locked the doors and put music on and was like, let's sit and eat. And did he try anything with me? No. But I felt like he was creating a scenario where he was kind of like implying he wanted to do something. So like, I just put my food down and straddled him. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, isn't this what you want? And he was like, I'm fine with this, but like, this is not what I was here for. And so I was like, so do you want to kiss or not? So he kissed me. And then we made out a little bit, and then he pulled away and said, do you even want this? And no guy's ever looked at me like that, like genuinely like, girl, do you actually want to do this? And I was so shocked, because like my mind was just like, oh my God, have I ever actually? Or did I feel like this was what I needed to do? This is the only thing I can do. So that was a very crazy experience. And I think that was my first pivotal point of where I started realizing that I had dating trauma. And the effects that it's had on me, that it's gotten me to this point of feeling like a shell, feeling like the only thing I can offer is sex, feeling like, when I get with a guy, this is the only thing they're gonna want from me, feeling like I will only go after older men because men my age don't want me, feeling like I'm ugly, feeling like I'm worthless, feeling like, all these different things, just all negative. And the sad part is, even after him, I continued down that road of becoming the other woman for years, or reducing myself down to being basically just nothing, and allowing like people, men, to treat me like I'm nothing. And it got to the point where there was this guy that I was truly in love with, and I met him when I was 13. And not to get into the whole story, I met him when I was 13, and he was friends with me for like 7 years. And at the age of 20 is when I became his other woman, because he was having relationship problems, and one day we just kissed. And I thought that it was good. It was good and okay to kiss him because I was already in love with him, but I didn't tell him. And also because I was like, finally, this is our moment. And also it was like, this is somebody who has never mistreated me in any way. Of course it's fine. But like, I was his other woman from the age of like 20 to 21. And I remember the day of his birthday. It was September. And no, I wasn't his other one for a year. I was the other woman for until I was almost 21. I wasn't 21 yet. But I remember it was his birthday, and he called me because I sent him an edible arrangement. And he was like, gushing over the fact that like nobody has done this for him, and his girlfriend isn't even doing it for him. And I thought about it, and I was like, I'm living in Virginia now. Like, I've moved away from Alabama. Are we going to be together? You've been telling me for a while now that you're going to break up with your girlfriend. You're just thinking of the right time. When are we going to be together? And he was like, about that, I've been thinking about it, and I think I want to give my relationship room to grow. And that was it for me. That was the final nail in the coffin of something's wrong with your boundaries. Something's wrong with your priorities. Something's wrong with your taste in men. Something's wrong with how you feel about yourself. And I apologized to him. I said, I'm sorry. It's all my fault because I tempted you into making me the other woman. And I can't believe he actually walks away from that conversation thinking that like he is actually like the victim. I can't believe he's out in the world thinking that, but that's besides the point. So literally the day after that phone conversation with him, I first of all decided to be celibate. And also I called a therapist, and I got into therapy. And really going into therapy has made me realize that like I have dating trauma, and it has gotten me to the point that like I don't want to do anything sexual. I don't want to be touched by a man. I don't want to be breathed on by a man. Sometimes I don't even like to be looked at by a man. But I know in all seriousness, I just don't want to date because I have these tendencies that lead me to situations that lead me to be that lead me to be in situations that traumatize me even more and doesn't affect my life in a positive way whatsoever. And it's easy to think in the moment that like what you're doing is fine, but I feel like a part of you always knows something is wrong. And I've had people tell me, well, it's good that these things happen because you know what to look for in the future so you can avoid it. That's fucking BS. Don't ever let anybody make you feel like you needed to go through a traumatic event for you to learn your lesson. I could easily watch a show, listen to my parents talk, read an article, watch a YouTube video, watch a TikTok where people talk about their experiences, and I learn from their experiences. I didn't need to go through shit to be a better person, or to be able to shoo away the wrong men or whatever. I just think that I got preyed on at an early age, and it went downhill from there. But if I never would have got preyed on, if I never would have became the online kid, then I most likely could have just learned lessons from my parents and YouTubers and whatever else. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Being in therapy made me realize I had dating drama that dated all the way back from middle school. These insecurities that got built into you, your self-image was diminished. And it started getting your self-image started getting beaten up, and your self-love started getting beaten up right in middle school, and just it got worse over time. You know, when you got a middle school, beat your self-esteem and your self-love to shit. And high school didn't make it any better. Maybe it got a little better, but not for real. Then you get out of high school, you go into college, and the guys in college are even more open with the fact that they just really want to fuck. So it still solidifies that thing of pretty enough to fuck, but not good enough to date. And now you're to a point where you're like out of college and you're 20 something years old, and you're looking back on everything like, I don't even want to try with anybody because I feel like no one is worth my time now. And I feel like I'm just so much better. And you probably have dating trauma. And I feel like the steps that I'm taking to get rid of that is to actually have conversations with with guys that I find interesting. Dating apps is kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing, because maybe you could read somebody's profile, but at the same time, it's also very easy to rule out people. So you find yourself on a dating app being like, no one's worthy of me because everybody is like shitty. But I don't know. I feel like, have a cutoff with people. I feel like the best thing if you have dating trauma and you actually want to be in a relationship now is have a limit. Know your boundaries well and stick to them. That's what's been saving me. When a guy comes along, in the first conversation, if he can't get through the first conversation without saying something sexual to me, I know that he's a red flag. But have boundaries and stick to them. Have a cutoff early. Don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't be like, I need to get to know them better, or maybe they should open up more. These guys will get online and scream about how girls don't really care about how we feel or care about us as a person. We fucking do. They just want to be the victim. But when you realize how, like, what you bring to the table, I always tell myself, I bring 3 tables to your 1. And you really actually do. And when you realize that, like, it's so easy to cut them off. It's so easy to get rid of them. You're like, dude, you don't even have a personality. You don't even know how to talk to a girl. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to do now to get over my dating trauma is I am trying to talk to men that I actually find interesting. And I'm not even trying to talk to them in a romantic way. I'm just trying to talk to them because I actually need to get in the groove of being able to talk to the opposite sex. Because I feel like other than my father or like male cousins of mine, I don't even know how to hold a conversation with a guy because my brain automatically tells me they probably just want to fuck you and they're probably terrible. So try to have conversations with male cousins or male family members. Work your way to being friends with the guy and establishing those boundaries, voicing them, being open about them. You ain't got to go into no whole detail, give them a backstory about it. If they say something sexual, say, hey, I don't like that. And if you do that again, we will no longer be friends. Or if you're good with leaving, leave right then, So I hope this video was insightful about the fact that, like, if you're 20 something now, or maybe you're 18 or 19, whatever, and you're in a position where you're wondering why you don't even like for someone to breathe on you, you don't want to be touched, you don't want to date, you don't want to be in a relationship, you just don't want it at all, you most likely have dating trauma, and it's normal and it's fine and it shouldn't happen. I'm sorry that you're experiencing dating trauma, but you're not alone and you can get over it. And I feel like the best way to do that is therapy. I hope you have access to it because you really need to dig into where the patterns started and what's the foundation of this, because you need to realize that, number one, it isn't your fault, and number two, you need to realize that, like, you can come out of it and you can get over it and you can make your peace with things. So I hope this video was helpful to people. I hope this video made you realize that, like, you just went through some fucked up shit and now your older self can finally experience the happiness that you've always deserved and that other people didn't give you. And that relationship that you want, you can have. It's just you need to actually put in boundaries now. And you actually need to, you need to approach situations knowing what you're worth now. Because trust me, certain men can spot if you hate yourself a mile away. like despite what they believe. And don't overshare. That's another thing that I used to do. I used to overshare a lot because I was desperate for people to see me. Stop oversharing. When you give them a lot of fucking information, they know how to maneuver with you, and they know how to manipulate you. Do not give people too much information. Please don't give them the backstory to how your favorite person tripped you up when you were 3 years old and it's traumatized you ever since. Stop giving them that information. Tell them about the you now. Always remember that your trauma is not who you are. It's a part of your story, but not who you are. Like, I think about me, I used to think that my trauma was who I was. And then I started realizing, no, my name is Morgan McCain. My favorite color is lavender. I love to play video games. I love to watch reality dating shows. I love making TikToks. I love spending time with my family. I love to journal. It's like, that's who you are. I'm allergic to bananas. That's who you are. Not the trauma that you've experienced. So I hope you like this YouTube video, and I hope you come back, and I hope you fucking subscribe, because I really taught my ass off with no water, no pause. So yeah. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for listening to me. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helped you. Because kind of talking about it helped me. But anyways, the BBO wave. Goodbye. Bye.